I think the key features of these results are that, as well as the move to profitability in Q4, we've seen our licensing revenues increase considerably. Our overall revenues increased 15% year on year, but in licensing from H1 to H2, we saw a 21% increase in revenues. That just shows you the pace that's picking up in those licensing revenues. That's what led to Q4 being our first profitable quarter, and reasonably significantly so. Having moved into profit in Q4 last year, we're anticipating being profitable for the entire year this year, and the mathematics of that are relatively simple. We run a fixed cost business. Our platform, which can deliver and does deliver 160 million streams a month to something like 16 million users, that is a fixed cost. Last year, we actually made an acquisition of Snow White, the French company, but even though we'd made that acquisition, if you take into account the fact that our administration costs this year have got a write-off for a large debt in, actually our administration costs 15 to 16 were flat. In fact, in the second half of 2016, we took out an annual equivalent of about £1 million worth of costs. So this is a fixed cost business. As licensing revenues increase, they have a 90% margin attached to them, so they drop to the bottom line. It's a relatively simple and straightforward economic model, and that's why we're very confident about profitability for the full year this year. When we created the new 7digital 2 years ago, we always said that consolidation was going to be part of the job we had to do. The changing digital music ecosystem had left lots of small companies in various countries providing the kind of services that 7digital provides on a global basis, but doing it locally. A good example of that would be Snow White in France, which we successfully acquired last year. We're now moving on to 24/7, which is very much the same kind of thing, but with one important difference. 24/7's owner is also its biggest customer, a company called MediaMarktSaturn. Now, many people in the UK may not have heard of MediaMarktSaturn, but if you lived in just about any European country apart from the UK and France, you would have done. They are the largest retailer of electronics and entertainment in Europe. They're the third largest in the world after Amazon and Walmart. What that means is they occupy an incredibly important position as far as the music industry is concerned, and they are really keen to have an aggressive digital future. They've realized that owning the company that is their supplier is not a way to have a digital gear change, and that being a shareholder as part of a global company like 7digital is the way to do it. So what they want to do is sell us in an all-share deal 24/7, and then have 7digital develop new services across their entire portfolio. And they're in 15 countries in Europe. So they will straight away become one of our largest customers, as well as a large shareholder. We estimate that this could put up to 5 million in licensing revenues on our turnover in relatively short order, and it will be EBITDA neutral in 2017 and positive by around about £1 million in 2018. Now, if you consider that the consideration for this is shares, which at today's price are probably worth around about 1.7 million sterling, we think that's a very good deal for our shareholders. As a company, we're increasingly finding our customers are tier one suppliers, electronics manufacturers. We've got Technics, Panasonic on our sales register now. We've got a lot of other names in that league. Those companies look at us and look at our balance sheet. And at the moment, our balance sheet is not as strong as it should be. So priority one is to strengthen our balance sheet, which this raise does. But also there are things we need to invest in. One of the things we've shown in the last 12 months is we're reasonably good at predicting changes in what is a very rapidly changing industry. I'll give you an example. 18 months ago, we began working on high resolution audio, saying to everybody that would be part of the future. Then we partnered with a company called MQA to deliver what is now the world's accepted standard for high quality streaming. 7digital is the only platform that can deliver MQA to business users. Now, that's required investment in the last 12 months. We're going to invest a little more in that, and there are things that we're working on now, which obviously I'm not going to talk about in public, that we believe will be the customer wins in 12 months' time. We announced in December that we will be launching the first MQA streaming high-res music service in Q1 this year, and we will. That's an example of an investment in a technology which leads to a customer. Some of the proceeds are going to go to that. The digital music landscape has changed out of all recognition in the last 12 months. The great thing is that it's changed in the direction of travel that we identified 12 months ago. I think the most significant indicator of that change is the fact that we now have the 3 major global record labels as customers of ours. We're developing services for those labels. So let me give you an example. For one of them, we're producing a tool which allows them to publish playlists of their content and other people's content into Spotify, Apple Music, etc., etc. So those labels see us as part of their toolkit to expand digital music listening. And that's because, at last, as far as I'm concerned, it is dawning on people that the future of digital music is not $9.99 services with a search bar. That, as we've always said, in years to come will be looked back on as the beginnings of the digital industry, but not the majority of it. Just over 100 million people are streaming music from the big consumer suppliers at the moment, as against 3.2 billion people who listen to music every day. 90% of music in the home and in the car is not listened to digitally. That's the opportunity. That's not a $9.99 a month opportunity. It is an opportunity for the music industry to make significant revenues, but in different ways. We also announced recently DTS are a customer of ours. DTS, one of the largest suppliers of OEM solutions in car. What they want to develop is high quality digital music listening in the car. They demoed the service that they're working with us on, that we're providing the back end for at CES in January very successfully. At the moment, digital music on the car dashboard doesn't really exist. That's a huge market. And it's going to be done in a very different way from paying $9.99 and docking your iPhone into a cable to play out of the car radio. It's going to be done in a much more seamless way than that. Now, there are many examples of that kind of new part of the digital music world. Another example in our customer base in the last year would be Electric Jukebox. That's a service which turns your TV in your home into a jukebox. So that's attacking the in-home listening market. Early indications from Electric Jukebox is that their listening in home is on a par with people's radio listening in terms of the number of hours people spend on it. That's incredibly interesting to me, because it means once you give people digital music that's easily accessible, very well curated, what we call the entertain me button, actually they'll choose to listen to much more music than they currently do. That's got to be great for the music industry. Finally, I think, in terms of this changing ecosystem, music is becoming part of social media, and that is incredibly powerful. One of our biggest customers is Musical.ly, Chinese company, but now in nearly 30 countries. They've got 160 million users. We stream something like 30 million streams for Musical.ly every month. Most people who use it, and most of them are teenage girls, wouldn't call it a music service. They're recording themselves miming to the latest Beyonce song. But actually it is a music service, because they need the Beyonce song to do it. And the music industry has realized, believe me, how powerful Musical.ly is as a way of serving music to people and getting them to like a song, which they then probably go and download or add to a playlist. So Musical.ly is part of the digital music industry. The important thing about the future of digital music is that it is about music everywhere, not a $9.99 service on your phone. It's the music everywhere that 7digital provides the picks and shovels for. I think when people are considering an investment, they need first to look at the sector, and they need to think it's a sector with growth in it. Well, clearly the digital music industry has growth in it. The fact that the growth is coming in areas which are likely to benefit 7digital is, I think, now becoming reasonably clear. Our market is not servicing Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Our market is in the rest of the digital music industry. And so the growth in that area, I think, is becoming pretty clear to people. The other thing you need to know is that you've got a strong management team. We've enhanced our management team this year. new CFO, new Chief Commercial Officer, and we're seeing the benefits from that flowing through in our financial engineering and our sales. That team has already executed very successfully an acquisition this year and is about to move on to another one. So you've got a management team that is poised for growth, sitting in a market where clearly there is going to be growth.